that is required for evil to triumph is for good men to do nothing. The quote comes from Edmund Burke, who was an Irish statesman and philosopher in the mid to late 1700s, yet it still holds the utmost truth. Each and every one of us has a moral responsibility, whether it is in everyday life or on a much larger scale, such as an international response to crimes against humanity. The ability to have the courage to intervene is both a necessity and is highly admirable. But to simply wait in the sidelines while somebody is causing another person grief is what allows evil to triumph. I have, as I'm sure most people have, been in a situation around school where there is a need to step in and do the right thing. It could be in the library, where you know somebody is not sticking to the rules, and it is up to you to take the lead and ask them to quieten down. Similarly, whether on purpose or not, if somebody is singling out another person, it is everybody's role in that situation to decide what to do and act on it. So while we can talk about the situation within school and between people, it is also relevant on a much larger scale, with even more devastating consequences. I'm sure that many of you will have heard about the Rwandan genocide. It was horrific. 1994 saw one of the quickest and bloodiest genocides since the Holocaust. In just 100 days, between April and July, an estimated 800,000 Rwandans were murdered. Most of the dead were Tutsis, and most of the violent perpetrators were Hutus. These two ethnic groups were very similar. They speak the same language, inhabit the same areas, and follow the same traditions. Yet a culmination of past conflict and a struggle for power led to gangs and militias hacking at Tutsis with machetes and blowing up churches where they had taken refuge. So now where were we, I hear you ask? Or was our role as members of the United Nations in protecting those who were experiencing terror on a new level? The fact is that there was next to no humanitarian intervention in Rwanda. The world watched, but refused to intervene for months. When asked why the US is not intervening in Rwanda, Anthony Lake, then the National Security Advisor to Bill Clinton, replied, "The United States has no friends. We have only interests, and there is none to pursue in Rwanda." It was a grave mistake. However, a mistake that was acknowledged, and since numerous efforts have been instrumental in preventing further events like this to ever happen again. Following these tragic events came the responsibility to protect, a global commitment endorsed by all members of the UN to protect all populations from mass atrocity crimes and human rights violations. The responsibility to protect principle has led to intervention in Kenya, Ivory Coast, Central African Republic, Syria, and more. It has been said to be the most important and imaginative doctrine to emerge on the international scene for decades. So while this is the case, there is no doubt that it is not without its problems. While it did lead to intervention in the 2011 Libyan civil war, in other cases it has not been used. When trying to intervene in Syria in 2011, it was vetoed by Russia and China. In their view, the US had been using the responsibility to protect as a pretext for regime change in places like Libya. So, if we are not careful, we could see history repeat itself and let things pass. But I think what this really demonstrates is that everything is constantly evolving. Organizations do not always get everything right, and neither do we. As St. Paul says in the reading, we all have a choice. We can let evil happen before us and do nothing, or we can put our heads above the parapet and act as good citizens and good people. We don't get everything right, but we can strive towards a society that learns from its mistakes and where all of us can stand against evil and hold fast to what is good.